All right, Exodus 28:39. And thou shalt weave the tunic of fine linen to expiate for the shedding of innocent blood, and shalt make the tiara of fine linen to expiate for the pride of their thoughts. And the girdle thou shalt make of the work of the embroiderer. And for the sons of Aaron thou shalt make tunics and girdles and mitres for glory and for praise. And with them thou shalt invest Aaron thy brother and his sons with them, and anoint them, that they may offer the oblations, and sanctify them to minister before me. And thou shalt make for them undergarments of fine linen, to cover their flesh of their shame, from the girt of the girdle of their loins unto their thighs they shall be. So they've got linen garments, linen undergarments. Why it's hot. Linen breathes wonderfully. Ooh, linen is awesome. Fine linen is the best. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons at the time when they enter the tabernacle of testimony, or when they approach the altar to minister in the sanctuary. Right? See, so there's different places. That they may not receive the punishment of flaming fire. This is an everlasting statute for him and for his sons after him. Forever. Forever, ever? Forever, ever. Okay? So the high priest is always Levi. It'll never be somebody else or something else or anyone else. And it's never done away with. It's forever, ever, 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 ever. All right? And this is the thing that thou shalt do to sanctify them, that they may serve before me. Oh, wow. Now we're going to find out what sanctification really is and how it's done. This is important. Take one bullock, the young of a bullock without spot, and two rams unblemished, perfect, and unleavened bread and unleavened cakes mingled with olive oil, and wafers of unleavened bread, anointed with olive oil, and with flour of wheat shalt thou make them. And thou shalt put them upon one basket, and offer them in the basket, and the bullock and the two rams they shall bring in a vehicle. Now you're asking, a vehicle? That's a new word. No, it's not. It's basically, you shall bring it in a cart. Okay? Whether your cart has a motor or is driven by an ox, you bring it in a cart. An ox or a donkey or whatever. Right? You shall bring it in the vehicle, and Aaron and his two sons thou shalt bring near to the door of the tabernacle of testimony. There's another tabernacle, okay? So you have the tabernacle of the covenant. Now we have the tabernacle of testimony. All right? And this is where the 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 testimonies are. Okay? So this is where the handwriting of the Most High on the tablets are. All right? So there's a tabernacle of testimony. And wash them in 4 measures of living water. All right? And thou shalt take the vestments and clothe Aaron with the tunic and the robe of the and the ephod and the breastplate and the girt and gird him or ordain him with the girdle or the of the ephod. And thou shalt set the mitre on his head and put the diadem which is engraven the name of holiness upon the mitre. And thou shalt take anointing oil and pour it upon his head and anoint him. So he's going to be fully dressed in his garments, right? And if anybody knows anything about meat trees, there's an opening here, the top, right? There's many different styles you can wear it, because it's just you wrap it around, but there's an opening at the top. You're gonna start pouring this oil on his head. All right. And then thou shalt bring his sons near and dress them in the tunics, and endue or ordain them with girdles. So everybody's getting the ephod, and the ephod is held on by linen because, well, that's in Leviticus, but we'll get there. And ordain them with girdles, Aaron and his sons, and wrap on them the meat trees, and the priesthood shall be theirs by everlasting statute. And thou shalt offer the oblations of Aaron and the oblations of his sons. And thou shalt bring the bullock before the tabernacle of ordinance. The tabernacle of ordinance. So the whole thing is the tabernacle of ordinance. See? So you bring them before the tabernacle of ordinance. That means they're not even in the courtyard. They're in front, right? In front of the tabernacle, right? So bring them before the tabernacle of ordinance, because the tabernacle of the covenants is the inner tabernacle where the altar is. All right. Is it? So we'll get to that. I'm gonna break. I'm gonna have to. I'll break this down with some Levites, because talking to everybody don't make sense. So, and thou shalt kill the bullock before the door of the tabernacle of ordinance, and take of the blood of the bullock, and put it on the horns of the altar with thy finger. That's it. That's all it needs. Now, when you go to Tel Sheva, you can see what the horned altar looks like. So, the inside of the horn is sloped. So when you put blood on it, the blood runs down to the fire. You don't want it. It's not a bloody mess on the outside. Okay, it's on the inside, and you can take care of that and clean that up. It's just a little bit. Yes, there is a cleaning that happens in the tabernacle. See, so, and all the remaining blood thou shalt pour out at the foot of the altar. All right. So the altar that's outside the tabernacle, in the front, is the brazen altar. It's not in the inner courtyard. Outside. Before you get in on holy ground, it's outside. Outside. Everybody not allowed in. All right. And thou shalt take all the fat that covereth the inwards, is fat on the inside, and that which remaineth upon the caul of the liver, there's a little thing on the liver, you got to cut it off, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat which is upon them, and set them in order upon the altar. And so you're going to take all of those things and neatly place them upon the altar. So it's going to, doesn't matter, just not any old kind of way, you just can't chuck it up there. So you're going to set them. All right. And the flesh of the bullock, and his skin, and his dung, thou shalt burn with fire without the camp. It is a sin offering. So all of his intestines, his skin, his stomach, his whole digestive system, because that will be connected with the dung, believe me. And the skin, I'll take that out, and you're gonna just burn it outside the camp, like take it far and set it on fire, like way over there. All right. And 1 ram thou shalt take, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram, and thou shalt kill the ram, and take his blood, and sprinkle on the altar, round about. So that's 1 finger sprinkle. That's just this right here. See this little flick? Is right. and wash his inwards and his legs, and set them in order upon his members and upon his head. And thou shalt offer the whole ram upon the altar. It is a holocaust before Yahweh to be accepted with favor, an oblation it is before Yahweh. And thou shalt take the second ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands upon the head of the ram, and thou shalt kill the ram, and take his blood, and put upon the tip of Aaron's right ear, and upon the tip of the ear of his sons, and upon the thumbs of their right hands, and upon the toe of their right foot or their right feet, and pour the rest of the blood upon the altar round about. Okay? So, right. So let me hear their hands, the right thumb, so they may do the work, and the right foot. They can go. They walk, work, and hear all the time in the service of Yah. Alright? And thou shalt take the blood which is upon the altar and the anointing oil, and drop it upon Aaron and upon his vestments and all of his sons and his sons' vestments with him. And thou shalt take the ram, the fat of the tail, the fat and the tail, and the fat that covereth his inwards, and which remaineth upon the caul of the liver, and the two kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and the right shoulder, for it is the ram of the oblation, and one round of bread, and one round of cake of bread mingled with oil, and one wafer from the basket of unleavened bread, which is before Yahweh. Now you notice it mentions these three different breads. Okay? Okay, you have like bread like pita. It's regular bread, right? Then you have the wafer bread, which is like thick and fluffy. It's like real big, thick, right? And that's the cake bread. So you have the round of bread, which is the pita. Then you have the cake of bread, which is like bread. It's thick bread, okay? Fluffy bread. And then you have a wafer from the basket of unleavened bread. It's real thin, and it's still soft and delicious, but it's just thin. Just some bread, water, flour, and it's thin. You know, they they make it thin by flipping it. It's made real thin. You can see through it almost. It's that thin. All right, and it's not a cracker. There's no crackers involved. No, nothing dry. It's tasty. And thou shalt put Exodus 29 and 24. And thou shalt put all the hands of Aaron upon the hands of his sons, and shalt uplift them for an elevation before Yahweh. So you shall put, and they shall put all upon the hands of Aaron and upon his sons, and they shall uplift them before Yahweh. And thou shalt take them from their hands and set them in order upon the altar, upon the burnt offerings, to be received with acceptance before Yahweh in his oblation before Yahweh. And thou shalt take the breast of the ram's oblation and uplift it, and elevation before Yahweh, and it shall be thy portion. And thou shalt consecrate the breast of the elevation, which is the ribs, and the shoulder of separation, the shoulder, which have been uplifted and separated from the ram of the oblation, from the hand of Aaron and from the hand of his sons, and it shall be for Aaron and for his sons by perpetual statutes for the sons of Israel, because it is a separation, and the separation it shall be from the sons of Israel, from the offerings of their consecration, their separation before Yahweh. So they're going to get this separation. So they get the right shoulder, they get the right ribs. So and that's of the rams and the bullocks, and that's part of the salt covenant. We'll get into that in Leviticus. This is, and as you can clearly see, all of this here that you see lined out here, when you begin to read in Leviticus chapter 1, the Most High doesn't discontinue this. So this is before. I want you to clearly see this. This is before they send. This is before the golden calf. They have to do all of this. When you start in Leviticus chapter 1, this is after, and they still do all of this. It's the same thing. Nothing changed. Yah never changes. So, I'm going to go and pick this up in the next video with Exodus 29 and 30. Alright? I'll be right back.